Since 2003, this is the Sports Source, East Tennessee's #1 sports talk show.
Presented by Junk Be Gone, Phoenix Conversions.
With your host, John Pennington. The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Sports Source. Happy to have you with us today. We got 90 minutes to talk about a lot of stuff. I don't know that 90 is going to do it. We've got bowl talk, obviously. We've got recruiting. We're going to take a deep dive into Tennessee's roster over the offense and defense for 2020 and moving forward. Where are the holes? What looks good? That's an interesting thing. And then a whole lot of basketball. Tennessee, Memphis coming up. Matter of fact, why don't we start with that? And let's get going right now. This first segment brought to you by our friends at Junk Be Gone. As I've told you in the past, these folks can remove big or small items. They can handle shredding for you or your company. They can do just about anything. Plus, you may wonder about this, they recycle as much paper, plastics, and metal as possible. They also, if you approve it, they also donate to the Mission of Hope, to CARM. Mike Such and his crew are just good folks. I've used them for years. Good local, family-owned business here in East Tennessee. It's what I like on this show. And I can't say enough good things about Junk Be Gone. I use them myself. All right, let's welcome in the first round of panelists today. We have a couple more guys waiting in the wings. We have Josh Ward. We have Mark Pankratz. We have Jimmy Himes. We have Mike Strange down there. Thanks to everybody for being with us. Next Saturday, Penny Hardaway and Memphis comes into Knoxville. Last year, as you might recall, there were some dust-ups in that game, some heated exchanges. Tennessee went charging at them with balled-up fists, according to Penny Hardaway. And then after the game, Hardaway spent like a week or two ripping Rick Barnes for supposedly insulting his players, which I don't recall ever reading, seeing, or hearing. So it's been kind of a hot off season. Rick Barnes has made it clear that they're probably not going to extend the series past next year. It was Memphis last year, Knoxville next Saturday. They play in Nashville next year, and that's probably going to be it. But here's my question. We'll get to whether or not the series should be extended later. I want to start with the former UT assistant coach over here. For years, Tennessee fans have been taught, well, you got to play Memphis. You got to get into Memphis and beat Memphis. You got to recruit Memphis. I don't remember a time in my life when Tennessee basketball ever owned Memphis. And I also don't remember a time where Tennessee well, I'm just going to take that back. In recent years, Tennessee basketball has been pretty good, even without Memphis. There were some Wade Houston years in there that I do remember that were bad. But for the most part, Tennessee's basketball has been pretty good. How important is that rivalry? I mean, you want to get into Memphis, obviously. Is it overblown in terms of how much Tennessee needs that rivalry? Can't be that important if Barnes is going to kill it. Give me a coach's perspective.
Well, from my perspective on the fan side of it's real, right? Fans love that rivalry. It is important to them. But I've never seen a kid on signing day say, hey, I'm coming to Tennessee because Memphis is on the schedule. Not one. No, and that doesn't mean that's not a slight against Memphis. That's any one particular school. SEC Network, now the old conversation was, well, Tennessee needed to play Memphis so they could get in there and the kids in Memphis could see Tennessee. And well, no, they're watching all the games on SEC Network or ESPN. They're all going to the same recruiting tournaments in the summer. So I don't think it affects recruiting either. I think the biggest point of this conversation is around the coaching dynamic. That's where this thing will determine as it goes forward. But for the fans, it's real. For the J.P. Princes, the Dane Bradshaws, the Jarnell Stokes, when you go play against your hometown rival, that's real. But for everything else, recruiting, all that, it's more for the fans.
Well, especially when Tennessee's spending a month ranked #1. You were in the top 10 all last year. The Memphis kids are aware of it. You could make an argument, I think, that Penny Hardaway and Memphis need that game more than Tennessee does right now. And I don't remember a time in the past where you could say that. Your guys' take on the Penny Hardaway thing. I said a couple of weeks ago on the television show, I think he's Lane Kiffin. He's already butting heads with the NCAA. He seems to be taking that same nitwit idea that Kiffin had when he was here. I'm just going to say anything to get a lot of attention. Remember, Kiffin took shots at Spurrier, he took shots at Meyer, and he was wrong on both cases. Him taking shots at Barnes felt that way to me. I just think he's a bit of a showboat and a hothead and a loudmouth. Your thoughts on Penny Hardaway and the matchup with a guy who's not in Rick Barnes?
Yeah, I think Penny came in and said, I've got to change the attitude of my players, and I think the approach he took was probably the wrong one, especially as it relates to Tennessee. And then the NCAA with James Wiseman, who won't be a part of the game, which I think is disappointing as well, but that's their doing. So I think that's the big part of it right now. Fans are more excited about this game because of what happened last year with Penny Hardaway. So it's probably not a good idea on his part, and Tennessee fans didn't like it, but they're more interested in the game because of it. So I think it adds to the rivalry, but that's often the case in college sports or college basketball. Pearl and Calipari made Tennessee Memphis more exciting too.
Absolutely.
I think you hit the trifecta on Penny. But and remember, this series was renewed because of the Rick Barnes relationship with Tubby Smith. Penny wasn't there. I do wonder if they would have renewed it had Penny been there. Here's the other part of that too. Memphis, during the negotiations, said, well, if we're going to renew this, you have to play us in football. Tennessee said, no, we're not going to go in that direction. We'll make this a separate deal. So they agreed to 3 games, one in Memphis, one in Knoxville, and then one in Nashville. But from a media standpoint, I like it. Fan standpoint, I'm sure fans like it. But I'm not sure we're going to see this much longer.
Do you think Rick Barnes likes it? I mean, for the fact he's canceling it.
No, I don't think he does. But here's why I would say it's kind of important to do it. I'm going to plug my Shopper News column from this past week. The home basketball schedule in November and December, you're getting Florida A&M, Alabama State, teams like that. I think this and the Big 12 SEC Challenge is a good chance to get a home game. Most of the good games are in Maui or Toronto or Niceville, Florida. So having a rivalry with Memphis gives you a chance to give a good on-campus game. And if you're not going to continue playing Memphis, then make an effort to get somebody else good coming in here playing Thompson Bowling Arena.
A couple of things I jotted down. From Penny's standpoint, couple things. One, from a coaching standpoint, he's actually been a little bit better than I thought he would be. I mean, he's been a high school coach, a middle school coach, an AAU coach. They were down last night and down by a good amount, came back and won the basketball game. So it showed, and his schemes and X's and O's a little bit better than anticipated. Two, from a recruiting standpoint, and his antics after last night's game. Now that we know what he was doing on the recruiting front with players and the guys that he was going to get, maybe he was running his mouth a little bit because he knew he was going to have Wiseman. He knew he was going to have these guys, and maybe Tennessee was going to be losing Admiral Schofield and Grant Williams. So now the bubble around the game was bigger, and he thought he was going to be able to come in and get a win. And the other thing from the coaching side of it, what did Pat do to Gino? Pat thought that, I know Tubby had the contract, but Pat thought that Gino at UConn was cheating, so he said, all right, I'm done with you. I think Barnes, if he has a perception, and we know that he is because he's done it, that Penny's cheating, why would you play a team in state that's a rivalry that maybe you do lose to, that you necessarily don't need, and he's cheating? So why play him, right? So I would just say, if I'm Barnes and I think he's cheating, I'm going to go find a Wisconsin, or I'm going to go find a different team that can get it, come in your home building, or you go play against in these months, and still accomplish what you want to do and having a good schedule for your fans.
What do we expect interaction-wise between the two? A fake smile and handshake before and after? Or do we think Penny's going to balled up fist?
Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
Again? What do you expect? I mean, they're going to act like, I could see Hardaway, I don't know, maybe being a schmuck about it. I'm not saying there's going to be fisticuffs, but I could see him doing a blow-by. I'm just interested. Barnes seems more like a nice Southern fellow.
I would think it'd be brief, the interaction.
Anyway, maybe I'm the only one that finds that interesting. I'll be watching to see how they act next Saturday. Very good. All right, when we come back, and by the way, we have a whole lot of Tennessee-Memphis stuff to talk about. We're going to get a full game preview and a lot more basketball throughout today's show. Next, though, where is Tennessee going to go bowling? It looks to be whittled down to 1 or 2 spots. You never know. It could go left or right. And the SEC is going to make that decision. We'll give you our take next on the Sports Source. Come on back.
Hey, when you're away from home, catch us on Facebook Live, our YouTube channel, or on sportsource.tv.
Let's do it.
This is the Sports Source.